Hockey Podcast. Well, speaking of nipples, it's episode 87 of the Handsome Hockey Podcast, and here we are from Evan's office?
Yeah, sure.
Sure, yeah.
Office-like room.
Office-y room with
room that may or may
windows
not
and plants.
Identify as an office.
It's, you know, whatever it wants to identify as. I'm comfortable with.
It can bend. Sometimes it's the
guest room.
Sometimes it's the office. Some might call it the den, the rumpus room.
You could even put like a very small hot tub in here.
Like, you mean like a hot pot of water?
Speaking of hot pot of water, that's what Mike Babcock has found himself in once again.
Yeah, and it boiled over and killed him.
One can hope.
Proverbially. It killed his career, that's for sure.
Yeah, proverbially. Yes.
Mike Babcock's weirdness turned his career into a nuclear reactor of hot water.
Yeah.
That it boiled the water around him and created a Chernobyl reaction.
That's the smartest moment in Handsome Hockey Podcast history.
And GM Jarmo Kekalainen's like, 3 sets wrong. Not good, not bad. I will die in 9 months.
Mike Babcock, who infamously was fired from the Toronto Maple Leafs for being an asshole to mostly his younger players, but sometimes his vets as well.
But mostly like people that he saw as victims. Like you don't single out Mitch Marner because you like want him to be a leader. You single out Mitch Marner because he looks like a fucking mark.
Who famously made Chris Chelios say of his treatment of Johan Franzen, it was the worst thing I've ever seen.
Right, yeah. Mike Babcock was allegedly used in the torture of inmates at Guantanamo Bay.
He was a specialist in like Unit 731.
Right, right next to Ted Cruz.
Yeah. So they are together.
No, fuck, it wasn't Ted Cruz. It's
Ted Cruz is
Florida fucker. No, it's
Ron DeSantis.
DeSantis. He like worked for the CIA like at Guantanamo Bay, and somehow they memory hold that shit.
Yeah, but he said he was a member of like SEAL Team 6, but he was just a lawyer.
Yeah, and his karmic retribution is that he looks like he's getting waterboarded constantly when he's on television.
No, Ted Cruz is the Zodiac killer.
That's right. There is a great bumper sticker in this neighborhood it's a picture of Ted Cruz and it says, "This man killed my son." Yeah,
I've seen it. It was like parked right over
there. It's always right near our
place. Speaking of killing sons, so Mike Babcock asked his players for their phones and then is it AirPlay? I don't know. I think technology.
It's AirPlay. Yeah, we are both Apple refugees.
Yeah.
I think it is AirPlay. AirDrop would be if he wanted to send these players titty pics of their girlfriends to himself.
Oh, that's when you take a shit on a plane.
Yeah, that's as opposed to a water drop.
So he would like AirPlay their photos on a screen, like either at his house or in his office or whatever. And he's like scrolling through the photos of these young players' phones. And like, if I had a smartphone when I was 25, I know exactly what the photos would have been about in my phone. And I would have been like, sorry, Mike, that's private.
Fucking Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah. Duh. And so this was unleashed upon the world by noted integrity-filled journalist Paul Bissonnette,
along with his sidekick Ryan Whitney, noted muckrakers.
Side you'd love to kick, Ryan Whitney, and The Blue Jackets came out, Boone Jenner came out, Johnny Gaudreau came out, Mike Babcock came out, and we're like, this is, I think Zach Werenski came out as well and was like, no, this is completely overblown. It was completely fine. He was just trying to get to know us better.
But you can see how like something that works with veteran players completely falls flat with younger players. And like, I think Boone Jenner got like forced at gunpoint to put his name on a PR soundbite.
Well, Jarmo is a Finnish sniper.
But like Johnny Gaudreau had a normal thing to say about it, and like what he had to say was just like he asked us for to share some photos of our families and stuff and talk about our off season and just like get to know us. You can see how that doesn't work with Gen Z, right?
Well, not only that, but so this defensive King Cock like comes out from the team, and Bissonnette decides to not back down. He doubles down. He's like, no, I have it on good info that this really upset a number of players on the team and they found it very invasive. I'm paraphrasing because he uses much bigger words than my master's in English does. But so he doubles down on this, and the NHLPA decides to do an investigation. And upon the end of that, the culmination of that investigation, Mike Babcock resigns because they found out that it actually did really cross the line with a lot of players.
And it's like, how exactly does that work versus how could that be just completely normal and innocuous? Like I keep thinking like, okay, if Mike Babcock was like, hey, share 5 photos of your off season to show me who you are in an email, and then we'll talk about them in the meeting. Fine. Like just
of course.
normal shit. But instead I feel like he like corralled this player that went to lunch at his house like he was the Starsguard from fucking Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. Like, okay, I'm going to gas you and then hang you up and try and kill you. Instead, like, hey, welcome to my house. Can I see your phone?
Can I see some pictures of your girlfriend's tits?
And
I mean your dog. I definitely said dog.
And like, wag. Can we settle on wag?
Is that culturally appropriate?
Speaking of which, like, Brock McGillis had, I think he was the first one to make this really sentient point in all of this. It's like, what if one of these players was closeted and Mike Babcock wants to go through your phone, like publicly in front of you, or not publicly in front of you, but I mean, I wouldn't put going through a phone publicly over what Mike Babcock wants to do, but there are all sorts of important privacy considerations. And so, asking your boss to see your phone, like you can get all sorts of old white men in hockey to realize that's not okay when you say, yeah, let your boss go through your photos on your phone.
Yeah, I can just see Mike Babcock getting a gay player's phone and be like, oh, you got a lot of pictures of your dick in here. These are different dicks. Mike Babcock just like recently heard the phrase "no homo" for the first time, and he thinks it's okay. Like he's like, "Oh, I'm becoming so culturally aware, no homo," and you're just like, "Get out in the fucking shed, Mike! Like, just get in the shed, stay in the fucking shed.
I'll get the axe.
I'm putting barriers on the windows, and I will feed you through the chimney, you fucking sloth."
And to his credit, noted muckraker Paul Bissonnette did come out and say that he was a little bit wrong to insinuate that Boone Jenner was the complaint because it's become obvious afterwards that Boone Jenner was not the complainee.
Yeah.
Because Boone Jenner, doesn't care about sharing photos of his wife and kids off season, nor do a whole lot of people. But you got to be understanding here that there needs to be a professional boundary, even in professional hockey, where professional boundaries become gray as shit all the time.
Yeah.
Between something like this, between your boss having the power to decide whether you're getting playing time on, if you were training in the off season, if you were drinking in the off season, if you were just stay at home and pounding puss in the off season, who knows?
Or if you're Kent Johnson, probably all of the above.
Yeah. I feel like Boone Jenner was doing some Jordy Nelson shit, plowing a farm somewhere. Him and Suter.
Which Suter? There's 40 of them.
The other thing about the lunch story, that's the most ridiculous part of this to me, is that he allegedly had a young player over ostensibly for lunch and got the young player to show him his phone and his pictures in his phone, and then didn't feed him lunch. Couldn't even send him home with a fucking doggy bag.
Well, you can't really find food in Columbus.
Don't they have fucking exported Skyline chili from Cincinnati?
Oh, God.
Not that that's good. That's just the closest Ohio food.
I know this is gonna enrage what's left of our Ohio listenership, but Skyline chili fucking sucks.
Yeah, it's not chili. It's a bolognese sauce.
It's so bad.
It's bolognese sauce. It's not chili.
It's
a bad bolognese sauce.
It's trash.
Does it give you a sense of place if you eat it there while you are watching the Bengals lose? Yes.
Or does it make you make a real quick trip to the toilet because it just plows through your innards?
All of the above. All of the above,
and
baby.
Then the toilet resembles the Bengals.
Or the Blue Jackets.
Yeah.
Actually, that's the other thing, is the Blue Jackets have one of the best collections of young talent. They're one of the best kind of farm systems.
And some really bad older talent.
Right.
Young
But
talent.
if there's a reason to keep a GM around who's made such a stupid mistake as trying to rehash Mike Babcock, maybe that's the reason you stay, is because A, you corrected course, and B, you have a shit ton of talent coming up.
Yeah. One of the things that I read on The Athletic was the talk that the Blue Jackets ownership is incredibly standoffish. They are almost entirely removed from the day-to-day of the hockey team.
I'm imagining them just being
sitting in the corner of the party.
Complete social introverts, like Succession, but eighth graders.
And so the ownership of the team, or the principal owner, made a statement saying, we are, backing our guys, but there was a long and but and, basically in that statement. And so I think there's a lot of pressure on John Davidson and Jarmo Kekalainen to, not win everything this year, but show big improvement.
Yeah, get the taste out of people's mouths from this. I think that's the big thing.
No, that's just the water in Columbus.
One thing you can do to get the taste out of people's mouth is feed them lunch.
Or give them the C.
Yeah.
And we've had a number of new captains announced recently.
Most importantly, Boone fucking Jenner.
The Canucks named Quinn Hughes as captain for this team.
Because ideally, your hockey team captain is the one who naturally looks always sad, scared, or high.
Yeah, he's he needs a better antidepressant.
Just portrait of Quinn Hughes. Is your antidepressant not cutting it?
Quinn Hughes could have been on the cover of every AFI album. How old are we? We've just referenced AFI.
I think the most interesting switch, obviously, this year is the Boston Bruins gave Brad Marchand the captaincy.
Yeah. So we spoke earlier about muckrakers. That's what Brad Marchand does. And it will be very interesting to see how wearing the captaincy of an original six franchise, one that, you know, while Brad Marchand has always been a bit of a wild card, has always respected. And, you know, when you hear him in interviews, you realize that he's actually a pretty thoughtful guy.
Is he an investigative journalist? Because that's what muckraking kind of means.
Is he the world's best detective Batman? I don't know.
Is he writing like Animal Farm 2.0?
It's God. I don't even have a joke there.
Because you said muckraking, and I think that's what muckraking means. Like,
I think I'm using
he's just
it.
I know how you. I think everyone knows how you were using it.
Well, then let's not sit here and like wax poetic about it,
because I got to get one over on my English major. Man.
God damn. Anyways, you threw me off my rhythm. We had such a good rhythm for this episode going.
I'm sorry.
Oh, it's ruined. I'm ending it here, and I'll just put it out at like 12 minutes. And people will be like, "Oh, they finally lost it," or they'll be like, "Wait, they're still doing this." I think what I'm trying to get at is it'll be interesting to see if or how this changes Brad Marchand's on ice persona. If he takes it seriously. I mean, he's played under Patrice Bergeron, who was captain for what, like 7 or 8 years.
Mm-hmm. And it freed him up to do some things,
you know, wag a little tongue here and there.
I mean, but the last couple years, he's been mostly without incident. I think his last like suspension was a hockey hit.
I think
that was dirty.
I think he got suspended last year, but it wasn't for like.
Right. It was like a dirty hit.
Yeah.
And like a kind of like a late, like just fuck up kind of hit.
If I remember correctly, we were like, "Is that suspendable?"
That's right. He slew-footed a guy, and it was like kind of wishy-washy, but he slew-footed people before. That's what it was.
And we were like, if this wasn't Brad Marchand and he had a history of that, would we be upset about
it? It was PK Subban. We'd continue to ignore it.
Yeah. Other captains, Gabe Landeskog, despite not playing last year or this year, is still the captain in Colorado.
Yeah, he's the captain, like the Godfather. You know, he's like, I need you to score this goal.
But he's like somewhere in Alberta, like farming.
Yeah, score the goal, take the cannoli.
The Blues named Braden Shen captain, which who?
Yeah, he's just kind of reminding you that, hey, he's a player on our team. Adam Lowry gets to be emperor as that ship sinks.
As God intended.
Like, you think maybe he asked his dad, like, hey, how bad does it get?
And he just like put his hand on his shoulder and was like, you'll know soon enough.
It's worth it. If you're strong enough.
Might as well die with your boots on. I mean, skates. Fuck, I screwed up the analogy.
And then
as all of his friends get traded away, he just like...
Chicago hockey team says nah to having a captain, which that's got to be some pie on Seth Jones' face, but also like, hey, we're going to try and trade you.
Or, hey, we're going to try and give this to Connor Bedard next year.
Next year. Yeah, 100% heading towards Connor Bedard next year. Also interesting that Anaheim also doesn't name a captain because...
Well, 2 of their biggest talents haven't even signed yet.
Yeah, and notoriously the coach is talking about making Trevor Zegras like back check and shit. And
that's not fun.
No, that's 0% fun. As they don't sign him.
As somebody who doesn't back check, I know that's not fun.
That's bullshit. You back check when you want to.
Yeah. When we have a long enough bench, I back check like a motherfucker.
Well, it was just like, okay, we're not going to give it to Troy Terry either. Like you have,
You can't give a guy named Troy Terry the captaincy. I'm not trying to poo-poo him anyway. And your captain, firsty. Like I'm sorry, but you can't do that.
Even though, I mean, Troy Terry's kind of a captain kind of game.
Hey, and Troy Terry single-handedly saved my fantasy season 2 years ago. Like,
yeah, you're just turning around and stabbing him in the back.
He wasn't on my team last year, so fuck it. I mean, yeah,
it's personal.
Cal McCarr, on the other hand.
So the fun thing, at least to me, or the funny thing, at least to me, is all of these captains have been getting their like portraits taken by someone who is doing a thing. They seem to want to photograph these people like they're like Civil War generals after the war, or like people that have endured their worst day. Like it smacks of like a Time magazine cover for like Condoleezza Rice or something.
It's like Chancellorsville.
Yeah, like, you know,
+1. And they're just like sad and all of their friends are dead and
right, like
they haven't trimmed their beard in 6 weeks. And
Connor McDavid's photo is like, oh, I should have built a house with gables and not a modern house. And like half of them is just like, I should have bought a boat.
Yeah, I should have bought a boat.
Like, it's not quite as bad as like Phil Kessel Team USA, but it's like going for gritty when gritty isn't needed. It's like, yeah, we're going to try and capture all of your emotions in your professional portrait.
Yeah, we're going to make you read some E.E. Cummings poems and then like just tell us how you feel with your eyes.
Yeah. We're going to take a portrait of you while we explain the Schrodinger's cat concept.
Watch the last 5 minutes of Homeward Bound, and then we're going to take a picture of you.
Yeah. Like, they basically tried to make everyone look like Quinn Hughes.
Yeah.
They tried to even it out.
Sad and high. We're just like, oh man.
Keep going, sorry.
We've got so many bad photos of Quinn Hughes. I know. Let's make everyone else look just as bad.
Exactly.
It's like, hey, Adam, do you remember when you were in 6th grade and your dog got hit by a car? Yeah, snap.
It's like Terry Gross in NPR. Like, okay, can you tell me about the worst day you've ever had?
Well,
I went to Mike Babcock's house. And
he asked me for my phone. To switch gears for a bit, so the PWHL draft happened quite a while ago now, actually, like 10 days ago.
Yeah.
But we haven't recorded, so
and
we
were
talk
excited
about it now.
We were excited for it, and we, yeah.
Yeah. Well, as was expected, Inspector Gadgeted, as was expected, Taylor Heise was drafted first overall by Minnesota.
Consensus 1.1.
They probably would have been drafted number 1 overall regardless of who drafted first overall, but because it was Minnesota, it was kind of just like a fait accompli, like it was going to happen.
Turns out star players work on every team.
Yeah. At number 2, there was some consternation as to which way the draft would go. Jocelyn Larocque ends up being the pick at number 2 to Toronto, which allowed Alina Mueller to fall to Boston. And it's like, oh, you want the young best European hockey player in the world to be on your team?
No, I don't want it.
Toronto was like, ew. Boston was like, yeah, give me the player.
That is how I imagine a Boston GM sounds.
Yeah. Come here and play ice hockey in the Boston area. Enjoy yourself and get yelled at by white people.
That's a really good, like, American Gollum.
Instead of American Gothic, he's like standing there holding a fish. The general kind of consensus after the draft is that Montreal probably came out of it looking the best. Montreal, and then like Boston and Minnesota probably afterwards. I am kind of upset because most of the players I was most interested in,
I'll be missing you.
most of the players that I was interested in really following this year are playing for Canadian teams, and
ended up on the Montreal,
Montreal and Ottawa. So not only Canadian, but French Canadian.
How dare they?
Like Montreal drafted Kennedy Marchment, Teresa Vanasova, Elaine Chuli, Jillian Dempsey, and the youngest player drafted in the draft, Lena Youngblom, who is
lives up to her name.
Yeah, is a Longblom. They're staying in Sweden. However, that was like actually one of the more surprising / daring picks of the draft. But then Ottawa drafted my girl Haley Skamura, who just kind of fell in love with their play style over the last World Cup, and they also drafted like Amanda Boulier.
Yeah, my girl Teresa Vanasova amongst the Montreal load up.
The thing I will say, so New York is still looking for a place to play, and reports are it's in Connecticut.
Interesting. They don't want to play at the mall. I know it's in New Jersey,
and honestly, Connecticut is like New York light.
I kind of thought that the American Dream Mall was dope. So
yeah, you loved it. I agree. I think that I think I'm going to go through this season without rooting for a team.
Oh, we got to pick teams.
Which is
take your time. Take your time with the decision, but we got to pick teams.
Do we have to pick before, after? Like how?
I think, it can be like, dating.
What if I pick a team and they're like New Jersey Devils 1992 left wing lock bullshit, and I'm like, gross.
It can be like dating.
Okay, you know what? I am at some point during this season going to root for every team in the league.
As someone that as someone that divorced a hockey team, I think, and
that is a promise I make to you. I will root for every single team in the PWHL at one point this season.
Yeah, it's sort of like
I am going to be annoying about it.
Yeah, the thing is, you got to like time it up right. Like you got to like root for teams at the right time. Like
I also think I'm gonna just wait until logos and team names come out and then base it off of that.
Yeah, that's also a big shoe to drop in terms of fandom. We've seen several interestingly laid out maps. There was one that was like, we're gonna have 6 points in a map and then 6 like placeholders for logos, but then they're like nowhere close to the positions on the map. I don't know. It was very funny. And then people were like drawing lines from the team logos to their positions on the map, and it looked like the start of World War I.
Somewhere Gavrilo Princip is just shaking a fist.
Right.
I also think the PWHL also put out a like coming soon teaser, and it was colors schemes for what people thought were color schemes for all 6 teams, which touche. That's a good one. I'm really interested to see what we get out of the logos, because for the most part, I think the PHF did a pretty solid job with logos and colors and jerseys and whatnot. But we'll see, right? Like nothing's going to top the Connecticut Whale logo. Like it's just not going to happen. But what can come in second, right? So I hope it's a team that I can root for and enjoy. I don't think anything will be worse than the Montreal Lethos, but
I thought it was all right. It wasn't the worst, but yeah,
you can do so much better.
It wasn't Sudbury Blueberry Bulldogs.
You fucking loser.
I think one of the reasons that we and a lot of the
tit fucker
women's hockey people that were aligned with on Twitter kind of like Montreal is they've taken a lot of PHF players. Teresa Vanasova, my girl,
Kennedy Marchment, Dominika Leskova. I think Jillian Dempsey and
Jillian Dempsey.
Chuli
Yeah,
went there
that
too.
was the other one I was going to go for. That's a good reason to root for a team. Amanda Levier, most importantly, stays in Minnesota. So we get to see, I don't know, some more Minnesota-themed goalie pads soon.
Loon pads for life. I
mean, you start with... What did she start with?
Fish pads.
Yeah, you start with the fish pads, graduate to the loon pads. Maybe we'll just get like whole lake pads.
We can hope. I mean, there's a lot of lakes to choose from there. So
And
it's like
speaking of-
it's like each week is a different lake and you have to guess.
Yeah, speaking of Minnesota, Olivia Knowles, another really good young player. Used to play for University of Minnesota and heads to Toronto.
I love the Minnesota team because it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of their 15 draft picks played college in Minnesota. Like that's some home cooking, and I love it. Like go for it.
So some notable PHF stars that we thought were going to be drafted went undrafted. Notably, Michaela Grant-Mentis, Madison Packer, Ali Thunstrom, Kaylee Fratkin, Nora Ratty, and Maddie Rooney, all of which can probably contribute if they make their way from free agency to one of these PWHL teams.
Well, I mean, Nora Ratty is still one of the best goalies in the world.
Exactly. So, like, this is like a fucking 8-team fantasy league. Like, their free agents are stacked.
Or ridiculous, yeah.
You have a huge player pool, and hopefully that leads to the best sort of competition that we're looking for. But I think it's notable that, all of these players that were looking at probably at the biggest paycheck of their career, are without it now. And Ali Thunstrom in particular has announced that she's likely to retire. Jonna Albers has announced her retirement. They're not going far. They're staying in professional hockey, coaching, managing, but it's always hard to hang up skates. And so our thoughts are with them and the other people that have been just royally screwed over by this transition.
Especially Jonna Albers, who's relatively young still and has been an absolute dynamo in the PHF for so long. It was honestly really shocking to see them choose to hang it up instead of keep playing.
And you wonder,
but I also understand
how much there's a unofficial farm system. Okay,
we've lost 7 players to injury. Hey, Jonna, come on in.
Right, you're only 29.
Yeah. Kaylee Fratkin is going to Boston for their tryout camp, which it seems it'd be a pretty big upset if they did not stick with Boston. It was honestly kind of a shock that they weren't drafted.
Considering how dominant she's been in
I mean, she's the defender of the year, I think twice in the PHF, and is only 2 years removed from it. Sammy Davis also is going to Boston for their tryout camp.
And that's the other thing that kind of surprises me is Ali Thunstrom as just a speed burner of a player. You would think that's exactly what would transition well to this new league that you would ostensibly think, okay, might play at a bit of a higher level. And that's why some of these PHF players, might wash out and whatnot. But I think maybe she has other things to do and she's 35. So, I can understand wanting to hang him up at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. Madison Packer is going to the New York tryout. Also kind of a big shock that they didn't get drafted. Tough Mustard, Carly Jackson going to Toronto for their tryout. Probably faces a pretty big battle to stick in Toronto, just considering who is on their roster.
But as I called it, roster bubbles in these camps are going to be interesting. Like, I hope somebody's filming some sort of grassroots level, like Hard Knocks in these camps, because talk about just palace intrigue and position battles. Like, you're combining leagues. Like, that's gotta be just juicy on so many different levels.
There's a moment where Marie-Philippe Poulin will in French say, and I took offense to that.
I wish my French was good enough for that.
Mine is non-existent. Poutine. There we go. With all that being said, we are trundling headlong into the first PWHL season, which will start at some point in January. It'll be an abbreviated schedule this year with a longer schedule starting next year. And as kind of devastated as we were to see the demise of the PHF, the birth of the PWHL is intriguing, and it has the promise of, you know, what the PWHPA has been clamoring for what, 5 years now.
Yeah, it sort of feels like a trap in some ways.
Yeah.
It's like,
but is it a thirst trap?
Depends on if you're talking about Olivia Knowles or not. But it still feels a little dirty coming off the heels of the untimely demise of the PHF. If this is what it took for survival, there's still, you know, so much talent left in the free agent pool. Like we talked about Fratkin.
The upcoming season is really it's kind of like a two-sided sword, or like both sides are blunt. I don't know. Like it's really great to see all of the best women in the world, you know, in theory, playing together in one league. But I really miss the Connecticut Whale. I really miss being a member of the pod, and I'm going to miss that for a long time. So I will watch. I will enjoy. Hopefully we get an amazing streaming service option for the PWHL.
If they make it back up on Disney Plus, that might make sure I keep Disney Plus, or not Disney Plus, ESPN Plus.
Yeah. So
let me try that again. If they make it back up on ESPN Plus, that'll make sure I keep ESPN Plus.
Well, the NHL's on ESPN Plus.
Sure, but like
you can stream that illegally easy enough.
Yeah, and like not quite enough of it.
Yeah.
It's part of the problem. Fucking blackouts. Like
yeah, I wonder what it's like to watch a Kraken game.
I know. I hear it's good.
Moving on, we have got some quick hits.
I got a good transition.
You do that then.
From something that we feel conflicted about to something that we feel unequivocally one way about. Terry Pegula allegedly said some racist shit, according to a lawsuit, and no one was surprised.
Yeah, when like rich white people say racist things, you're just like, well, yeah.
Well, it's like, you know, 2020 reactions, or reactions to events of the year 2020 did a lot to bring a lot of people's negative opinions out of the woodwork. And that's what this lawsuit kind of alleges. There aren't specifics on what Terry Pegula has allegedly said, but I don't need him. I believe him.
He allegedly said if the black players don't like it here, they should go back to Africa and see how bad it is.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. Well, shout out to our Sabres fans.
The lawsuit also mentions Dallas Cowboys owner Jerry Jones, who, what? He's racist? No way. Allegedly told Trotter in 2020 that if blacks feel some kind of way, they should buy their own team and hire who they want to hire.
I mean, okay. In some ways, that's Shad Khan. the Jacksonville Jaguars owner.
Yeah.
Because
Shad Khan put a statue of Michael Jackson outside of Fulham's Craven Cottage in London because they were friends.
That's hilarious. Shad Khan, University of Illinois graduate. His
of course.
Parents moved to Urbana-Champaign when he was like 17. I just found this out. My mind is fucking blown. So, Shad Khan, future Buffalo Sabres owner. Other muckraking quick hits. Andrew Shaw gets back at digging his shitty little ditch and talks some shit about PK Subban for no reason in particular.
He's so stylish and good on television.
Yeah, he's not as good as me at illegally headbutting the puck into a net. No, he just said, like, you do know all his teammates hated him, right? And it's like, okay, mirror right back at you, buddy.
Yeah. Your mom thinks you're a pud.
And, like, you know,
your mom yells at her vagina for having birthed you.
Criticize PK Subban's winning accolades all you want. Like, he was a star, is a star, and Andrew Shaw wasn't. So yes, of course they would exist on two different sort of tiers of player, and one would feel natural jealousy towards the other.
Patrick Kane never. I don't have a joke.
Mean, at least Patrick Kane like gave Andrew Shaw some blow. Like he's nice in that way, like a handy in a river. No, I mean I meant cocaine.
While somebody was taking an aqua dump. Mm-hmm. I'm so happy that you're finally watching Shoresy. All of these jokes can come out now.
It's been a long time coming. Speaking of taking an aqua dump, Biosteel went back. Biosteel went bankrupt.
I'm about to cry. That was really good. There goes my mascara. Yeah, who would have seen this coming?
Anyone who has tasted Biosteel.
Well, also, like, Biosteel went from nobody knows them at all to like official bottled water or like athletic drink of the NHL in like 4 years. And it's like expansion happens at on an exponential curve for a reason.
And I know some people that liked it, but they were all getting the like pre-mixed stuff in just like, really wasteful packaging and shit. And it's like, I tried the mix it yourself stuff when I ran one of these relay races. We had like a pile of just like Noon and Biosteel and Gatorade and stuff. And at the end of the week, like,
I thought that you farted. I was like, that's the weirdest fart I've ever heard.
It's even weirder. It's literally a coworker sharing a picture of her cat to our Zoom cats chat.
Oh, good. Mm-hmm. Now, if only
ran this relay race, brought some Biosteel to share in the runner's potluck of various electrolyte drinks, and amongst the like Biosteel, Noon, and Gatorade, and Crystal Light, like, guess what was universally hated and left over? It was the fucking Biosteel.
Everybody was like, we're not inviting Evan back next year.
Our 12 runners doing 216 miles as a focus group universally dismissed the Biosteel.
You know what? That's a thing, right?
And like, I don't know. I was like, okay, let's try it. Here, it's good. Other people like it. And it was like, no, this is just shitty, no calorie Gatorade again. Like, I don't know. Speaking of not having Gatorade again, Arizona Coyotes legend Andrew Ladd has announced his retirement. Some may be saying Andrew Ladd was still in the league, and yes, because of very strange contractual money requirements. But Andrew Ladd got to 1,000 games, 2 cups, but most importantly, like, one of the all-time just silly end of contract stipulations clauses that we I don't know. We love this just silly shit.
Yeah, well, and I think that we're all wondering. Oh, sorry. Did the stipulations that would cause Chicago to lose draft picks in that Andrew Ladd trade end up happening?
No, I don't think so. He made $4 million a year for the last 3 years, and then $5 million a year to do nothing.
Good.
What a god. Most importantly, he had a cap hit that was bigger than his actual paid out salary. So that made him, a Coyotes legend. It was something like he had to play one game in the NHL last year.
Yeah.
To make the whole thing happen.
Well, if he didn't make it, that's honestly on Arizona.
But I think
that's bad management.
I think he did. I mean, I think he didn't want to play much. I think he played in the AHL. But yeah, just all-time end of career grift goes to Andrew Ladd. Congratulations on your amazing career featuring 2 cups, and happy trails.
Well, yeah, you know what? Congrats to Andrew Ladd, and also to Cole Sillinger for
talk about happy trails.
Formerly Happy Trails. Oh yeah, I can hear myself again. Formerly Happy Trails. He plays for Columbus, which is a bummer. And he now is single because he cheated on his girlfriend. And what do you know about cheating on a pop star that always comes back to haunt you? They make a music video.
Listen, Travis Kelce.
Listen, Chris Hemsworth.
But his now ex-girlfriend, Tate McRae, who was apparently, before she was his girlfriend, she was his celebrity crush. What amazing Canadian celebrity crush. I mean, have you seen the video?
I haven't seen the video. I didn't know who she was until about
I didn't know until
35 minutes ago when I looked up this whole thing.
I didn't know who she was until I saw the video for a song called Greedy. But she films the sultry music video in a hockey rink and locker room. For part of it, she goes Michael Jackson with a hockey glove and just wears one.
Oh, I love it.
The lyric in the song is "Don't get greedy."
All right.
And everyone knows who that is aimed at. Poor Cole Sillinger, who hasn't really been working out very well with the with the Columbus Blue Raspberries like he should have been.
Yeah, and you know what? Now his ex is gonna glow up on not that she wasn't already. I have no idea who she is.
I mean, she's got a skin team. She glows all the time.
Oh, we need that.
Yeah,
for
agreed.
Our promo shots, we need skin teams
and the emotional NHL photographer.
Yeah, I mean, I cry all the time. So that's again. Oh, you want me to watch the last 10 minutes of Homeward Bound? And the missus and I were out in Joseph, Oregon, where a bunch of Homeward Bound was filmed, and they have plaques up about it. And I would see the plaque and just
cry.
Get a little teary eyed because the ending of that movie is the saddest thing that has ever happened in cinema. Andy Dufresne got out. Yeah, well, Shadow almost dies.
Yeah, Cole Sillinger learns, don't date a TikToker. Trevor Zegras yet to learn that lesson. He's currently dating one of the D'Amelios.
Charlie.
Like, I don't even know.
I don't know who we're talking about.
Me either.
I have spent an inordinate amount of time avoiding TikTok.
Dixie D'Amelio. Apparently there's more than one D'Amelio, just like there's like 8 Dutchmen on that one team in
The Appledorns?
The Appledorns, yeah. There's a bunch of D'Amelios, and Trevor Zegras is dating one of them, and Anaheim's like, hey, we don't want to pay you anymore.
and this D'Amelio person, is that like when hold on. Is that when like Gordon Bombay comes out in a goatee?
When I hear D'Amelio, I think of Night at the Roxbury. D'Amelio! But yeah, Trevor Zegras in contract stalemate with the Anaheim Ducks because, well, he's a pure offensive forward talent and they want to get grittier, and the coach has been in the media saying like, yeah, I'm going to teach this boy how to play defense.
Why?
Why?
Stop it.
Okay. I mean,
That's not what he does.
In so many words, but yeah, everyone's like, why don't you just take a fucking bridge deal? Just either pay the man long-term and commit or take a bridge deal. And they're like, Pat Verbeek's like,
He's like, I'm going to do what Steve Yzerman did with Steven Stamkos and make it hard. And Steve Yzerman's like, no.
You play tough contracts in the corner.
What do we get to?
we're just jumping around randomly at this
all
point.
Over this shit. Spencer Knight revealed to some reporters that he went into the player assistance program to treat his OCD.
To which anyone who knows goalies say, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Why aren't you all in there?
Yeah. I mean, in all seriousness, good on him for doing what was healthy for him at the time, which wasn't playing in the NHL, even in the midst of your team going on a cup run. And it sounds like, maybe if he's able to talk about it, that whatever he came out of worked. So yeah, hopefully he's able to be the goalie that his team desperately needs in the future.
Yeah. And he, sorry. And the Panthers gave up on Alex Lyon, who like kind of got them into the playoffs there at the end of the season. He's now like third fiddle in Detroit. So they really need Spencer Knight to have his show up moment.
That was also a smart buy by Stevie Y.
Oh, absolutely. I think hopefully Spencer Knight has been able to kind of take control of OCD, which that's maybe not the best wording,
right? Like I want to make jokes about this, but you don't need to.
Yeah, I'm not trying to make a joke. I'm just like legitimately was like, wow, that's putting my foot in my mouth a bit.
And like OCD is it's a stress disorder. Like you can see how a hockey goalie can just like easily start to suffer from that because it's like connecting things that are real to connecting things that to things that aren't real. How many times you tap your crease or like clean your crease or tap your goal posts or whatever. Like everybody sees goalies do these very, very, distinctly sort of ritualistic things, and like the jokes can write themselves, but we don't need to. Like,
yeah,
the kid's coming back. That's the most important part. And he's probably got a bright career in front of him. I think the lesson is when your bright career is in danger, like take the time you need.
Yeah. Like we saw Jacob Vrana jump into the player assistance program and come back pretty strongly towards the end of the season there with St. Louis. And
as a player, he's got a little bit of a harder row to hoe than Spencer Knight does, just because he's had, so many chances and so many teams take a chance on him.
Yeah.
But with Spencer Knight, he's like, hey, I need to step away for my own health, and hopefully he comes back better than ever this year. Speaking of coming back better than ever this year, Valerie Nichushkin would just love if everyone forgot about that whole Russian hooker thing in the playoffs.
The whole, I had to go home and be away from my team for several weeks because I brought a drunken loose cannon into the midst of our team and may or may not have sabotaged our playoffs.
Yeah, I totally did not have to be spirited away by team fixers into the ether and renditioned into a safe house.
Leaving my coach to stammer awkwardly in every press conference about where I was, would I be rejoining the team? Big Val, he, he's not with us right now, and
he's not in a farm upstate.
Yeah,
but...
there's that's a real great team over there, and we've got to work hard to kind of overcome some obstacles, and we miss Val, but. We're optimistic.
Seattle's got some really great farmers markets, and we think he maybe got lost.
Yeah, that dude loves to throw fish, and so us being in Seattle, we knew it was going to be a contentious moment, and we're doing everything we can to find him. However, look at the dog. Look at the dog.
He loves to throw fish like Led Zeppelin. One of you will get that joke.
And finally, Nikita Zadorov became the first Russian player to openly oppose the war in Ukraine. We've heard rumblings and whatnot that several Russian players were kind of on the opposite side of this invasion and were not supportive, but Zadorov has openly come out on social media and said, I am against the war in Ukraine.
Which is so dope. I mean, this is also coming from the dude that broke Nathan McKinnon's chickpea pasta obsession to the world. Nikita Zadorov is bringing the people the takes that we need to hear. And to be, the first Russian to basically say, I oppose the war. I'm not going to be able to go home. This is fucked, and really be honest and call a spade a spade. Go read a translation of his interview. It's poignant. The dude has always been a very interesting interview, but you can tell he's a really thoughtful individual. And though he might want to murder forwards on the ice, he doesn't want to murder Ukrainians.
And he doesn't, we hear rumors, and they're easy to believe that Russians are afraid to speak out against this war because of what it might mean for their families left on the home front.
I mean, Ovechkin ain't afraid to speak out. He is very.
He's not worried about his family on the home front.
He is leaned into the
it's Team Putin, man.
Yeah, the Putinesca.
But if those are true, if people are genuinely in danger, and it's easy to believe, but I'm not gonna sit here and be like, we have all this evidence that Russian hockey players' families are in danger.
Well, didn't Matvei Michkov's dad die under curious circumstances?
I don't think it was super curious. He's not the leader of the Wagner Group or anything like that.
And I think, it was pretty clear when Artemi Panarin was going through it. Shout out to one of my favorite episodes of our old podcast, Lore. But, he was, I think his family's a prominent Russian family, and he was very scared for, implications for them from and I think his sort of position.
Didn't Gabriel Kaprizov get detained in Russia at some point?
Oh, fucking forgot about that. Yeah, they were just no, he has you.
Yeah. You play for CK Moscow, and
You stay longer.
yes, green card expired.
Right. As Alex Galchenyuk like goes the other way.
Yeah,
He's like, no. See ya, NHL.
yeah. I'm about to offend some cops. Don't worry, my girl, my sister's got me. Yeah, it takes a lot of balls to do what Nikita Zadorov is doing, and hopefully it doesn't come back to to have negative ramifications on him or anybody in his family.
I mean, hopefully being 6'5" and 220 pounds helps.
Yeah, I mean, being 6'5" and 220 pounds doesn't grant you immunity when your plane goes down in mysterious ways.
No,
but,
it just means they have to use like radioactive poisons.
yeah, that's never happened. All right. Well, anyways, thank you folks for listening. We will be getting our NHL season preview out here pretty soon. I think our long travels are not over. You're going to Canada in a week. So
yeah, but only for like 4 days.
Yeah. So we will, we'll be coming at you with some big time hot steamy season preview episode coming up here.
Oh yeah, we're gonna lay a hot steamer down for everyone who likes to listen to us. We're probably gonna even like start releasing episodes more often now that we're around and the weather's turning shitty and the place that we play hockey the most is closing. So
we can do Mondays now.
We can do Mondays now. Mondays back on the menu.
Got a case of the Mondays, and that means we're recording. You can find us on the internets at handsomehockey.com.
Oh, dear God.
Handsome Hockey Podcast on Instagram. Handsome Hockey on Threads. Is that still a thing?
This week, yeah, because Elon said they're going to pay for Twitter now. So sure.
Oh, okay, yeah. At Handsome Hockey on X gonna give it to you. What? Or handsomehockeypod@gmail.com if you want to email us. Handsome Hockey Facebook page, and we got the YouTubes.
The YouTubes.
Where you can
tube your tube.
You can visualize our words when they come out into the audio there.
No, you really can't. I don't think they have closed captions.
I have no idea what's going
I would
on
love to figure out how to make them closed captions, but
yeah.
that is a mystery for another day.
Yeah, and also a mystery for another day, our next episode. So we will see you soon. Stay handsome, everybody.
Restez beau, tout le monde.